So typically when people talk about cloud computing and look to do a comparison, the most immediate thing that people will leap on is cost. And the promise is that the software as a service will give you lower cost than on-premise software. Often the case, not always, but often the case. And the reason for that is that on-premise software comes with a number of quite significant costs that need to be considered. Typically you've got your upfront license fee, you then typically have to do customization and configuration, you'll have to buy hardware, you have to purchase it and install it, you've got the cost of hosting that hardware and managing it, off-site backups, making sure your data is backed up securely. If you get large enough, concerns around high availability, replication, that kind of thing. Then you've got upgrades, the cost of adding those new features and going to the next version when it comes out, and just your general support and maintenance of the platform. Contrasting that with something like software as a service, you'll be paying a monthly subscription instead of sort of an upfront license fee. You will most likely be doing customization and configuration. You should also make allowance for integrating the solution into your organization as well. It would be naive to think that you can simply pay a monthly fee and just get on with using it. Now obviously for some smaller companies you probably can just get on and use it. You don't have to make configuration changes, you don't have to do integration. But any reasonable size organization will have some special requirements that mean that you will have to spend some work there. You will need to do end user support with software as a service, really about training, about making sure that people understand how to use the solution. But what you won't be doing is support around the infrastructure. You won't have to have a guy waking up at 3 in the morning because the server's died. And you also have to make allowance for increased bandwidth costs. If you've got a very small pipe or you've got sort of low latent, sort of poor links, you'll probably have to look to upgrade them. The user experience of software as a service is degraded on a poor connection typically. And so we'd always recommend that you do look at spending money there. But typically the cost equation works out very well in favour of software as a service for most people. But in saying that, it's really not just cost that should be the focus. The key question should really be on business value. And I guess the key criticism that IT faces is that it doesn't add value to your organisation. And a key reason for that is that IT teams are spending so much time on maintenance, on non-value add activities simply to keep the heart pumping, if you like. So what software as a service potentially allows is that you can let your IT teams focus on those things that actually add business value. A good example here, I guess, mail and collaboration. Your mail platform is critical to your business operating, but it doesn't really add value to your business unless, I mean, if it's not there, you're in big trouble. But are you gaining a competitive business advantage from your mail platform? No. So why not take the complexity that that mail platform brings and put it out and have someone else manage all the complexity that it has? Equally, maybe you've got small, like different parts of your business, like you've got the marketing team who are demanding service from IT, and IT are too busy focusing on the big ERP project that you might have going. With software as a service, you might be able to satisfy the demands of that part of the organisation by simply giving them the solution straight away, and then your IT team can focus on things that are of more importance to them. It allows your organisation to act at an enterprise scale. As I mentioned before, a small 3-man company can have the same CRM that Starbucks or Cisco enjoy. So you can get enterprise-grade features, and you can use the processes that enterprises use to be most productive. Similarly, starting at that small sort of 3, 4, 10-person organisation, you can seamlessly scale your business. Simply by adding more users or adding to your subscription, you can grow your organisation. You don't have to worry about getting a bigger server. You don't have to worry about those issues that typically come when organisations grow quickly. And a key point here would be organisations that are in acquisition mode, organisations that acquire companies. By using software as a service, you can very easily bring new companies, new subsidiaries into your organisation. Equally, you can farm them out. So you've got some real control there about bringing and controlling how you can grow your organisation. Software as a service and cloud computing in general has the opportunity to reduce security and compliance costs. Now, a typical objection to cloud computing is often around the area of security. But for many organisations, what they are required to do in the areas of security, what they're required to do in the areas of compliance are actually very onerous. How many people are encrypting their data at rest? How many people are encrypting their data in transit? How many people are actually doing all the necessary activities that they're expected to do because of what they're doing, particularly in the financial area? How many people are not actually properly backing up their data? How many people haven't last tested when they did a backup of their data? When you actually get into the nuts and bolts of running and operating software, as I'm sure many of you know, there's a lot of hidden costs and a lot of hidden complexity. If you can move that off to someone else, if you can take that complexity away, then you're in a much better position where you can actually focus on the things that matter to your business. No upgrades ever is a fantastic outcome. It really makes users happy. It takes pressure off IT teams who are always getting nagged about getting the latest feature. No longer have to worry about it. Because of the vast scale that these software as a service providers and cloud computing providers operate at, you should experience an improvement in service availability and reliability. You're no longer relying on that dodgy server in the corner of the office to keep your mail or your CRM going. You've got massively redundant, massively clustered, high availability architectures across the world, improving that service availability and reliability. Once again, only as good as your internet connection. But what we've seen in recent years is that the reliability of internet connections is a lot more improved from where they were. It's really just making sure that you have the right bandwidth available. A key implication of software as a service and cloud computing is this transition from CapEx to OpEx. You're no longer paying massive upfront amount of CapEx to realize a solution. Instead, OpEx just on demand. So if you're a startup organization, a startup company in particular, software as a service and cloud computing gives you that opportunity to really not spend a whole lot of money up front. You'd be quite crazy these days to go out and buy a whole lot of servers to realize your solution. You can sort of get those on demand as you need, allow your organization to grow and scale. Equally, I mean, for any organization, that transition from CapEx to OpEx in sort of these recessionary times is obviously very appealing. So future trends, what's happening out there? What can we see happening in the near future? It's pretty clear that we're going to see the emergence of local private cloud and government cloud offerings. Despite my positive spin there on sort of the legal and regulatory risks, and that it actually is probably quite palatable, there obviously are a number of organisations that want to take a tentative step into the cloud. They want the benefits of the scale that the cloud can provide, but are still somewhat unsure of actually sending their data completely off overseas. And certainly in the case of government, there are laws that prevent them from doing so. Therefore, I think we can expect in the next year or so for a number of new offerings to come out in this area. There's certainly a lot of talk about government cloud offerings where the government looks to sort of get more efficiency for our taxpayer dollars by having more common government resources around computing. We'll continue to see more cloud-enabled versions of existing software which will complement on-premise offerings. I mean, Microsoft's a great example here of where they're basically betting a lot on the cloud, but obviously still honouring their existing on-premise deployed base. I really think that platform as a service frameworks and offerings are going to mature. I think this is where, from an IT custom sort of software development point of view, which is where I spend most of my day, we're going to be using platform as a service offerings more and more and more. I went to a presentation from Microsoft earlier this week, and it's very clear that Microsoft see that platform as a service is going to be the dominant way of delivering software solutions in the years to come. Obviously not immediately, there's a period of change there, but if you have your own custom-built applications, then you should very seriously be looking at what platform as a service can offer for you, if not today, then in the years to come. We'll see, obviously, the talk of the second cable into New Zealand, which will be fantastic. We'll continue to improve latency and performance of cloud applications. People have generally seemed okay with only having a single cable at the moment around the reliability of cloud offerings, but I think having a second cable will increase that confidence further. Obviously, it will reduce pricing. The cable that's been proposed has a more direct line to the US, which should reduce latency up to the US. So I think overall that will be a very positive spin for cloud solutions. Another trend that we're seeing is around device sort of access independence. The idea that you shouldn't have to use a desktop or PC to access an enterprise application. You should be able to access it, well, firstly anywhere, and secondly from a range of different mobile devices. Cloud computing really supports that paradigm and sort of allowing people to access the solution with whatever device that they may wish to use.